have any room for cats. They have nobody adopting cats at the moment. So we reached out to other cities, other people who kind of may have had the same problem. One of the things we looked into was a TNR program, trap, neuter, return program. Essentially what that is if somebody calls and asks for a cat trap because there's a cat on their property that isn't theirs, that cat is trapped, taken to the vet. They will scan it, see if it's chipped, and look and see if they can identify it through their vet records. And if they cannot, then it's considered a wild cat. They will neuter the cat, cut the tip of the ear for future identification, and then it's returned to the wild. I'm more of a dog person myself, so maybe everybody knows this, but a male cat can foster or can have up to 200-300 kittens in a lifetime. So what they were passing along was that by neutering one male cat, we could be saving 200 to 300 kittens from being within the city limits of Marysville. This type of program is definitely a long-term investment. Yeah, you probably will not see any noticeable difference for 1 to 2 years, but it has been proven to work. If you have other ideas, we're definitely open to it. By all means, I'm just telling you that as of right now, we have nowhere to take cats once they are trapped. The city is not set up to hold cats, and the vet is not taking them at this time.
Where would the cats be released after that was complete?
That's a good question. So there's two thoughts. One is that you release it back where the cat came from, considering that's their home and their domicile. Two, what others do is they'll take it out into the country 2, 3, 4 miles and release it out to the wild. So I saw places that do both.
How many, just ballpark, Matt, I mean, how many cats are you seeing that this would affect?
We get calls every single week for a cat trap. Probably at least 1 to 3 calls a week saying, hey, can I get one of your cat traps? So I'm not going to say it's horrible.
In my neck of the woods, there's a lot of cats that are down there all over. But have you looked into taking them to a cat rescue?
So we called Topeka. They do not take anybody outside Shawnee County. We called Riley County. They're a volunteer organization, and they were going to give us a call back at some point. We never received a call back. They're completely volunteer, and we're not aware of anybody else that's taking cats outside.
Fairbury has a cat rescue.
Okay. And that's something we can certainly do. You're going to take officers off the street to transport cats, and
I think the money to transport that cat to Fairbury would outweigh the cost of other alternatives, in my mind.
I just don't
Because if you look at an officer is making X plus benefits and an
gas,
hour
wear and
up,
tear on your
hour
vehicles.
back, yeah.
Yep.
But I have a problem with if you do 50 feral cats a year, for $125 to $150 a cat, how much is that going to cost the city in a year's time?
Probably less than our officers taking them up to Fairbury every week.
Yeah, that would be less if you...
And having to try and hold them for 3 days, and then
Do you have any kind of records, ballpark idea how many male cats you would catch in an average year?
no,
You'd
because we
guess.
haven't ever tracked them by gender
Yeah.
that I'm aware of. So, I mean, we could certainly tell you how many cats we picked up.
About 50% of those, probably.
Yeah, you could certainly make an assumption there, but yeah, I have,
How many have
What's
you picked
that?
up?
I'm sorry,
How many have you picked up?
I do not have that information.
What's the average per week, would you say, Chief?
I just would say we get calls every single week. Now, there are times we put out a trap and we don't catch any. I mean, that absolutely happens. We can keep going down the route that we're going, and that's okay. The problem is gonna be the statute, or the city ordinance, I'm sorry, that says we shall hold them for 3 days. If I picked up a cat today, I have nowhere to do that. So we could continue to go through the vet here and just change the ordinance to may be held for 3 days. But there has to be some kind of alternative if we have nowhere to take them.
So if they did 1 cat a week, that's 48 cats a year. So you're looking at about $6,250 a year. And that's if they're all males. You know, you're not always gonna catch a male either. They're not gonna spay. I mean, to spay, it's extremely more
To spay the cats
expensive.
was nearly double, and so that's why we didn't propose that. And so that was my question for the vet, because I didn't know, was my question is if we just focus on the male cats, are we actually gonna see a difference? And she thought we would.
And that should decline over time, like you said. I mean, you may,
Yes.
first year to second year, maybe not a lot, but then the third year you should I mean, it should be less and less and less,
Agreed.
to a point where there'll always be some, probably.
What's it cost for the vet to hold the cat?
The bills go directly to City Hall. I do not see the bills.
They do charge us to euthanize them, even though they're not euthanizing them, I will tell you that.
So,
And it has to do with the state regulation, and I would have to check that regulation on, that's why we have to hold the dogs. The day we pick it up, it doesn't count. Then we have to hold it 3 days, that's a state reg, and then release it because we have a pound. I don't know if I have a Valley Vet bill in here.
Express vet.
Oh,
Do we not have
Sorry.
an animal control officer anymore?
yeah, they're the police department.
Not a specific
Not a specific,
individual.
no.
we'd love to hire one.
No.
There you go. To board a cat for 3 days is $42, and then they charge us a euthanasia fee, even though they're not putting them down, which is an additional $25. So each cat we take out there costs us
72,
$67.
yeah, 67, so.
So would we still be paying that in addition to the?
No.
Not if you can get around the 3-day, I don't know, that is a dog pound regulation, that's a state. They check us on that, because if we don't hold them 3 days in addition to the day we pick them up and the day we release them, we get dinged.
And that's dogs and cats?
Well,
I don't believe so, because there are
that I don't
municipalities
know.
across the entire state who are doing TNR programs.
Okay, so maybe
So
the
I
cats
don't
are
know how
different.
every other municipality would get away with it if that was a state regulation.
right.
Basically, we're only spending about $58 more to have them neutered, and then we're actually solving an issue as opposed to just paying, and then they go back out, and then they keep breeding, and nothing's accomplished.
In the end, it could save money.
And truly, my goal this evening, to be honest with you, is for you to know what we're facing. So when you say, why didn't you hold this cat? City ordinance says you shall do this.
And you can't.
I can't.
So you're not looking for direct action tonight?
Well, I mean, I would like an answer moving forward, yes, whether,
I'd like to hear Kevin's thoughts.
Huh?
What are your thoughts, Kevin?
I like the TRN program myself. DNR program, sorry. I mean,
She'd be willing to make a deal if we did a bunch
That's
and
what
bring
I
them all
was
at the same
because
time.
we're gonna have to do something.
well, but
with
how
it.
are you
They
gonna take them
just-
all at the same
it's
time?
just
I don't
getting
know,
worse
I'm
and worse and
asking,
worse.
I know the vet in Blue Rapids does give them a deal if they bring, for cities, if they bring more, she cuts a deal. So I just was curious.
Logistically, I don't know how we would ever hold them until we got enough.
They give us a better deal.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty tough to do
Yeah.
a deal.
Yeah, I don't know, I don't have any
Unless we're
idea,
gonna
I
go
just know that
spend a
that's what they
week
told us.
picking up stray cats.
Sure.
I
And hope
just
they're
know
tomcats.
Where I live, there's a lot of stray cats.
The whole
that are
bottom
all
down there's that
over.
way.
Huh? They're
The whole
everywhere.
bottom's like that down there. They go up and down through the storm sewers and you gotta see them in the morning picking garbage up down there.
But the issue on the table.
Well, they're
I think,
picking
is
up garbage.
Huh?
They're picking up garbage, Kevin.
Yeah.
Chris?
So he's looking for a change to say that they don't have to seize them
Right.
until we can figure out what we're gonna do
we're gonna do.
otherwise. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I would make a motion to say, may be seized instead of shall, just to, and then.
That would be an ordinance that we could bring back and
Okay.
you could approve.
Okay.
It has to go by ordinance to
Okay.
change the code book.
You make a motion?
I'll
to-
make a motion to change the ordinance.
I'll second it.
Okay. It's moved and seconded to reword the ordinance and bring it back at the next meeting. Is there any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
I think we still need to work with the vet to see if we can get a better deal.
I was
And I can certainly call other vets, but then we have to factor in the officer
I know,
transportation time.
Transporting, yeah.
No, I just wondered if she
Yeah.
would cut you a deal. I didn't.
I can certainly
Check.
ask.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
6-1.
Is there anything else you would like me to check into before I come back next meeting? You just want a price break if we can get one?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chief,
Matt.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Or maybe even a prepay on so many.
Guarantee so many, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any idea how many male cats.
Start at a low level and then after a year, you do a good,
Just see what you can do.
I don't wanna, I can already
truly-
see what people in the public are telling us we should do. I just,
You're gonna have that, and maybe they have a better idea than what we have.
I can imagine what they're gonna tell us what to do, and it won't be legal.
Yeah, and truly, there is a potential that just changing the ordinance to May, we can still work with everything else as is. But I just didn't want the council to be like, why are you not doing this, and not have that knowledge.
That makes sense.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Matt.
I do think it was based this way because the dog pound's based this way.
Yeah.
And that's a separate issue, but we don't have a cat pound. So that's why it was based.
Okay, next we have the request for ATV golf cart usage at Skyfest on July 13th.
Hello, I am not Wayne Cruzy, but I am here to represent today because he had another engagement. So if you have any questions after reading this letter, I'd be more than happy to field them.
Are they going to use them for transportation from parking lot to parking lot again this year, or what's the
Yes.
scoop on that?
Yes, definitely at least from the top of Lakeview to the bottom, to where the actual event is gonna be held. That was what we did most of it for last year. We are working on trying to get shuttles from parking lots, which are a little farther out. So that way ATVs are not on the streets. It's
Okay.
just the Lakeview area.
That's why I was asking.
Yeah, you betcha.
I noticed it said you're gonna be moving some of it to the airport as well. Are they gonna be shuttling all the way to the airport as well, or?
Yeah, so since that's on Sunday, the parking down there, we haven't quite figured out yet, just because we're really not sure what to expect. And Mr. Spicer, Curtis Spicer, has been a little busy recently, due to some troubles. And so we haven't figured out quite that parking part yet, but the ATVs, I don't think we're gonna do anything with them at that time unless Wayne says that.
He just mentioned to me that it would be on Saturday.
Yes, okay, and then that's what I thought. I
Okay.
thought it was just on Saturday.
And the fireworks and everything are still gonna be out Lakeview then, nothing, okay.
Yep, I mean, unless Mr. Keating has anything different to say about that.
Mr. Keating's doing nothing but plugging in a lot of wires that day.
Absolutely, but it'll be at
My
Lakeview,
fingers
correct?
will look raw, yes. It'd be in the same spot.
That's what we were asking, so, yeah.
Move to approve the request for ATVs and golf carts for Skyfest on Saturday, the 13th.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And perfect, also included on that letter, sorry not to interrupt you there, but it also talks about a request for an early pool party through the Kansas Army National Guard. I don't know if that's part of that discussion, or you need to discuss that.
That needs to be separate, yeah.
Okay, there we go. Is this the appropriate
Now.
time? Yep, okay. So Presley had come to us, the person who's in charge of the National Guard, and has some really great ideas to add to Skyfest, so we're really excited about that as well. But she also, her commander wanted to bring a bunch of people from Fort Riley and have them come to Skyfest and have something to do for them in the morning. So boop, 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 I called up Courtney Porter and said, hey, Courtney, would you be interested in helping us out with that? And she said, absolutely. But it needed to be approved because it was a different time than what is normal for pool parties.
Does the city have to give any money or pay for anything for that at all? It's just to approve the time?
Correct.
And staffing's no issue?
Are they paying for us? Are they paying for the party or no? Yeah, the 150. Yeah, so then we got our guards paid for, so it would cost us nothing.
I move to approve the pool party from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Saturday, July 13th, 2024.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded to approve the pool party. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Perfect. Thank you. And I'll just stay right up here for the alcohol request.
Yeah, then we have a resolution for alcohol sales and consumption.
Move to approve resolution 2024-04. Consumption up at Lakeview.
Can I ask what the area is that they're covering?
Ally was supposed to give me a map and she did not, but she said it would just be within Lakeview.
But is that all the way to Carolina on the south? I mean, that's part of the.
Because I would think, I know
complex.
that the Legion is gonna have a beer garden out back.
Well, I wouldn't think they would be crossing the street.
No, I mean, it would have
So
to be
just-
in that complex, so it would be before Hedstrom.
20th Street
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
to the
Yes, correct.
east, not covering the backside of the National Guard or the Legion.
No, not that far down, that's not part of Lake.
Or the fire department. and
Nope,
things.
nope, not across the
That's
street,
right.
just in
I
that.
just wanted to make
Basically
sure
just the
that if they want to
big
do something
square.
in that area, that we have separate requests for those areas.
Yes, you would have to be, because this is just the address at 500 North 20th.
Okay.
That's all I
All right.
will send into the state.
So it'd basically be 20th Street on the west, Carolina on the south, and the north driveway to
We
the,
wouldn't go all the way down to Carolina.
where's
No,
the,
no, no.
where's the line then? Because,
Before Hedstrom Hall.
Yes.
so, okay, it's just kind
Well,
of ambiguous. You see what I'm
you're right. I
saying?
see what you're saying.
I think
because the road
it'd
doesn't-
be the street north of Casey's.
Yeah, it's Carolina.
Yeah,
That's what I was
Carolina.
gonna say. I think if we just
That's
included
all
Carolina, because it's part of the Lakeview complex. Lake Hedstrom is functionally part of the complex.
Yeah, and then they have that,
The
Yeah,
corral,
'cause we
and
never
people will
usually
park back
consider
on that
that, yeah.
side.
And then anything to the south of Carolina, to the east of 19th Street
Is yours.
is private property, and that's on the property owner as far as,
This is all just city property.
yep,
Yeah,
yep,
this only
That's all we
covers
can
city.
approve anyways.
yep.
Okay? So it's moved.
yeah, he moved and Lori seconded.
Lori second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Pass it on next year, we want the map with it,
Yes.
Well, and I
That
have to
and-
have the map before she gets her liquor permit.
otherwise we're gonna delay it for another meeting.
That makes total sense, and I will make sure that they know that, and I apologize, because I was just up here to
It's all right.
represent, but yes, I will definitely pass it along. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, next up, we have notices and hearings. We have a resolution about nuisance abatement at 1222 Broadway. There are some notes in here from Will Ralph, our city inspector.
So nothing's happened, nothing's been cleaned, nothing's been.
I went by there today. and-
Is this person physically unable to do this stuff? No? Okay.
It's unfortunate because it's in a very visible spot.
Unfortunately, yes, it is.
So it's just talking about picking up the trash and then mowing now, is what?
Yep.
That gives us we can mow it, but really, if we could pick up the stuff first, it would probably help us out.
There's a lot
I mean,
There's a lot of stuff laying in.
the mowing is a different thing and it doesn't come through council, but this has to come
But
through.
yeah, the nuisance needs abated, otherwise you're gonna just be mowing around.
Right.
or through
Move to
trash.
approve resolution 2024-03.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
7-0.
Thank you. Next up, we have the consent agenda.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Does anybody want anything pulled out? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
7-0.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have presentation of appropriations ordinance.
Move to approve appropriation ordinance number 3823 in the amount of $369,795.35.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Does anybody have any questions? Roll call.
Snelling,
Yes.
Ferris,
Yes.
Barons,
Yes.
Keating,
Yes.
Spikeman, Schrader,
Yes.
Crom,
Yes.
Brackett. 7-0.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have the city administrator report. Josh?
Yeah, so as a lot of you guys know, the pool is now open. It's open from 1 PM to 8 PM. So go ahead and buy all of your passes. That way, we can have a lot of fun there, and make the city a little bit of money. And then also this Friday and Saturday is the Big Blue River Days. So bring your family, buy your barbecue tickets, join all the different events. Can't wait to see everybody there. Let's see. We're having some issues with our wayfinding signs around town. I don't know if everybody knows about that, but we've had a handful that have already fallen down. They're just over a year old, so we're looking at what we can do to brace them and to figure out what we need to do to either stabilize them or replace them, so that way, they'll be able to last a few more years than
Talking
one.
about the blue signs up.
All the blue and green ones, yeah, that are all around town.
Who installed those?
I believe it was Apple One Media.
Correct.
We reached out to them.
They were the manufacturers.
They were the manufacturers and the installers.
Yeah.
Is that something we could talk to them about?
I mean, we've been in constant conversation with them. So, just trying to figure out what the next steps are with that, especially with a new round of signs that, our different groups are looking to put in. So, just want to make sure that they're put in well, so that way they last for a while. Let's see, our guys are spending a lot of time at the, city dump right now. We're getting a lot of different stuff that should not be in there, so let's go over what should be in there. And the dump is a tree and brush burn site, so that's trees and brush only. And that's a state regulation from the Department of Health and Environment with the state. So that means no paint, no landscaping timbers, no bricks, no wood, no cement, no furniture, none of that stuff. Just trees and brush.
Do we have any type of surveillance out there?
We do have surveillance out there, so that brings me on to the next point. Our next step now is that we're gonna be prosecuting individuals that we're able to prove have put it out there. If it keeps happening from there, we might have to talk about closing it to the public, so.
And to clarify, grass clippings
Yes.
are okay, okay, all
Sorry.
right.
And leaves?
Yeah.
Leaves, okay.
Anything that's not leaves or trees needs to go to the
If it's
county.
not in its natural state.
Let's see. Oh, our guys were working over the weekend in the water department on, a water line near the new construction site that Landell's putting up. It's all old rural water line, about 2 inches. We've already replaced, just up until Friday, over 90 feet of it. It's not the best material, but we're replacing it with a lot better material, since, that was 60 years ago that it was put in. But we're gonna have to look at different options, and that might cost
That's
quite a
on
bit.
this side of 11th Road, and what we've been talking about is on the other side of 11th Road.
Yep, so
I didn't
this is,
realize they had
it'd
rural
be
water
the-
over there.
this is southwest of the Verizon.
Yeah, so where
building.
the Fincham house is, it runs 50 foot north of the house, east and west, and it's pretty rough.
And it goes all the way to the back side to those other houses we were talking
Yeah.
about, bringing the water from Keystone as opposed to bringing them from where it's coming.
Are we
That's why they
using
make-
that old rural water line as part of the city water line now?
It's not rural water line anymore, it's a part of the
It's-
city's
it's-
infrastructure, yeah,
They gave it to us.
Right, that's part of that, okay.
yes.
But it's the old schedule, I don't even wanna call it Schedule 40, it's a lot thinner than that.
So, yeah. Next thing I was hoping to talk to you guys about was, about the RFP for the Kester commercial block. I wanted to get the council's priorities on what they are looking for as we move into the negotiation stage. Just really wanted to hear what's important to each of you guys.
Is that open discussion?
It is open discussion.
Well, I'll go ahead and start. I don't like the idea of selling it for $1 or selling it for $10,000. I think when we do that, we lose control of it. If whoever ends up buying it does their thing, and 15, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, they go defunct, and then it's just on open market for somebody to either buy and run down or nobody to buy it. I am a firm believer, and I've talked to Tyler, he's reached out to me, and he proposed two different scenarios where either he buys it for X, and then, there's in the purchase scenario, there's no clawback at this point. In the lease scenario, he pays so much for the first year of the lease and then pays so much every year after that. It's not a huge amount of money. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's $1,000 a year. Initial payment of $1,000 a year. But what we gotta remember and what we gotta understand is that we gotta look at what the delta is with the taxes we're paying. I think 9,800 when I looked it up.
Yeah, it would.
And then the commercial insurance on that block is it,
Well,
is it over 10?
oh,
Oh, yeah, it's like
So-
31 or
so
something like that.
To me, that delta of, let's just call it $20,000, because then we gotta figure in the maintenance.
Yeah.
It's probably closer to $25,000. If we look at that delta and we go, well, what can we do to help the Kester Foundation, but yet draw a line and say, no, we're not gonna give it all to you every year in the budgeting process, but maybe we pull back a third or a half of what we are spending now. And I think that's, to me, that's very important. And the nice thing about the lease is we can write in there a clawback agreement that says, you go out of business, it comes back to us. It's very marketable to the commercial industry when it comes to property management companies. And personally, I think that's the way we need to go, and the direction that the negotiations need to be with Frontier Property Management, city attorney, and the city administrator.
So if we lease it, is the city on the hook for the taxes and the insurance and all that still, or?
No, that would be written into the lease. The important thing, they gotta have, I think it's 39 years plus lease, then the taxes and insurance go to them. They're responsible. I think 39 years is a number. He's proposing a 100-year lease on it. And then at the same time, start out at $1,000 a year, and then every year we figure out some mechanism that says, okay, it's gonna go up this percentage every year over time. But really what you gotta drive it back to is look at where we're not gonna be spending money on insurance and taxes and upkeep. And I think it'd surprise all of us. I know, talking to the previous interim city administrator, he said, what you're spending on that property is a big amount of money, so.
In talking with Tyler, did you explain to him about the other offer, about the restaurant being separated?
Yeah, I don't think Tyler has too big of a interest in that property. It's not really in his wheelhouse for what he does.
Okay.
And I really think Tyler is more oriented to that commercial part where they can get some living space up above and whatnot. And at the same time, not jacking the rent on the commercial side. Because they're not looking at jacking the rent on the commercial side. They're more interested in the residential, yeah. Because he'll go after a tax abatement on the residential to pull that tax off, but he'll still pay the tax on the commercial, which, I haven't told him this, but I'm thinking with what he's paying, if you get a tax abatement up here, you're still gonna be paying about the same amount down here with what we're paying now. And the way I look at it is, well, we're paying the property taxes now, and of course, our share comes back to us. We all agree? At least now, somebody else will be paying our share, and it's coming back to us, so we can work that into however we want to budget, maybe a little bit of funding. I'm not saying we go, okay, we're getting $30,000 a year back, because we're out of this thing now. We send it all to the Kester Museum. I don't think that's the right answer.
No.
But we can still supplement
Yeah.
a little bit
The
there.
museum still needs to be taken care of.
Right, it needs to be taken care of, but I don't think we need to pull 100% of
No.
what our delta is there. So,
So if a person leases, can they still apply for grants and things like that?
As long as
Yes.
it's that length of time, the 39.5 years.
Yeah.
So.
Now, there might be some things, like if he goes for a CBGD type of thing, that the city might have to sponsor, but that would be all part of the negotiation of putting him on the hook, that if something goes defunct, you're not gonna stick us with that
No,
type of
yeah,
thing, so.
yeah.
And I don't think that'd be the issue there.
No, because he sounds like he wants it, we just gotta figure it out.
Is there any, let's say we get someone who's interested, or Tyler changes his mind, he wants to absolutely buy it. Is there anything that can be written into the contract that says if he does go defunct or bankrupt or something, it can come back to the city?
Yeah, I believe you
Is
could
that
put in
legal?
like a right of first refusal
Yeah.
or something
You could
similar
put
to
that in there, but I think that's a very difficult thing to enforce too, when it comes to commercial real estate.
The reason I ask is just, we don't know what's gonna happen yet, so I just wanna make sure all our bases are covered so that, you know, we all want this to succeed and to bring, you know, housing and interest to the city, but we also don't wanna see it flop and then, you know, end up to where it's out of the city's hands and we have no control over anything anymore. You know?
Exactly.
That's why I don't think we wanna go down the purchase route, in my opinion. We wanna keep our finger in that cookie jar just a little bit.
And I think that, you know, I've vacillated myself on which way might be best. I think part of the appeal of the sale route would be that it's done. We don't have any managerial responsibility or oversight responsibility. We've sort of handed that off. So it's not without its appeal, but I mean, if it can be structured with a lease where we can minimize that, I mean, I could see an argument for that as well.
It's kinda like the Legion. I'm fairly confident the Legion's the Legion property where the building is city property. And it's a lease, and if the Legion ever goes defunct, it goes back to the city. So, at least you have that control there.
I just think the importance of that block, you know, that was a donation to the city, and I think it's our responsibility to make sure that that donation is not, you know, abruptly ended or, you know, it just, I think it needs to hold value, that it was a donation, and it's our responsibility to make sure that it's used and valued the way that the citizens want it to be, and, you know.
And at the same time, we don't have the means and the ways to take care of it like we should.
100%,
you know.
yeah, actually.
If you read Wayne's email, Tyler's gonna be here on June 6th, Thursday night, from 5 to 7:30 when the stores are open, and there will be tours of the above that he's doing on that night.
We will be unlocking all the buildings, that way people can go around them.
In
And
the upstairs, you're unlocking.
upstairs, the restaurant, and yeah, I think the museum will also be open because they have the concert
They have a concert in there.
that night.
Should we maybe get a couple of volunteers to go up there and kinda keep an eye on them walking through there? Cause there's a couple spots that, I don't mind helping that night, cause there's a couple spots that we don't
Oh,
want
yeah.
I agree.
too much of the public.
What day is that?
The 6th of
Thursday,
June.
the 6th.
It's a Thursday.
It says Tyler will be here to answer questions.
What are other council members' opinions on the sale versus lease question, other priority items that,
I can see both sides of it, and I'm like you, I'm kind of waffling back and forth. It would be good to be totally out of it and not have to worry about it anymore with somebody else. But yet I can see Jeff's point that if something happens, that they go defunct, just like Hardee's, and it went back to the original landowners, and now they're selling it. So I don't know which way, you know, I'd have to see some hard figures and hard numbers before I would actually make a decision.
If we were to sell it, I'd say that we would want to put certain like checkpoints that he'd have to meet along it. So, you know, that's always an option too.
That's my only hesitancy is for the sale is, losing control over it if something goes awry.
Things really went south.
Right.
I mean, hopefully that's not gonna be a concern. Obviously, we're dealing with somebody with a pretty good track record. I'd say a priority item, more kind of process than anything is, it sounds like he's already doing it, which is keeping the commercial tenants well informed, because I think buy-in from the tenants who will hopefully still stick around for the most part for a while will be very important to his success and to, I think, the project in total success.
If that's everything, then speaking of well-informed, the foundation and the advisory board will be sending a delegate into those negotiations with us to at least listen in and then give their ideas and their priorities to us as we go through that. So that way we're listening and that, hopefully they feel heard. But then we're also thinking that a council member or the mayor would be good in those discussions as well.
We basically want to make sure that all groups have somebody that can be there to be part of the discussion, ask the questions, but also have an accurate way to report back to their groups so that nobody feels like they're being left out of the process.
Yeah, if you need me to go to any of those, just reach out, I'd be happy to help out with that.
And I'm not as concerned about a specific individual necessarily being there, but that we have somebody from council representing.
Where?
Those
Just
meetings
to be at the meetings or
with the negotiations.
with the negotiations with Tyler.
What about the admin of finance committee being part of it?
Could be. I don't know that we need a whole committee. It could just be a point person, since it's more of a function of
Just to
administrative
make sure
staff.
everybody stays informed is
Yeah.
what we're after.
Correct.
'Cause he said this, she said that, they said that. We don't
So,
want that.
can that individual, if there's a meeting, can they report back to the council? Does it have to be through the official city meeting process, or can just informative information be pushed down to city staff, or obviously city staff's gonna be involved? Can it be pushed down to council members, just as informative?
I think it still needs to be channeled through City Hall, probably for records
So,
purposes.
pass it on to city
Which I
administrator?
will already
Yeah.
be there, so, yeah.
But it'll just be so too, when we have a council meeting like this, that gives more than one perspective on the meeting and more than one memory, and also we discussed X, Y, Z. But, we did, when we met with the, Kester House Museum Foundation, that was something they thought they seemed really eager to be part of that discussion and as much as a listening ear as anything, just so that they knew.
So would that be one representative from the foundation and not like 6?
It sounds like there was one or two. They wanted to do it that way if one couldn't make the meeting, the other
Okay.
one probably could. But they
I-
aren't subject to
I thought it
the
was one
same
from the
meeting rules.
foundation, one from the advisory.
Possibly that, or.
But the foundation themselves talked about more than one. If necessarily, both would be there at any given time, but that way they could make sure there's
Keep
coverage.
everybody informed on their
Yeah.
groups.
Yeah, I would
It's-
like
For me?
either, I would like to take the primary role if I can't make it, because I got.
Well, and
Well, me
that's-
too.
yeah.
That's why I'm.
That's why, as far as on the council wise, since Jeff's been so intricately involved in it so far with, building rapport with Tyler, I think it'd be just fine for.
Yeah.
And if I can't make it, Colleen, if there's a meeting, Colleen
That's
could,
fine. Yeah.
Yeah, with this summer the way it is, it's gonna be hard for one person maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that's fine.
And I'll try to make some too. It's not like there won't be anybody there, but that way we keep as much communication, keep the process moving forward in a timely manner.
and I think that's what he really wants, because there's some of the RHID's funding that he needs to get going on quick,
Yeah.
and, he doesn't wanna drag his feet, or it'll extend that lease-up period for him, a longer amount of time, so.
Okay.
But yes, we'll do it together, Colleen,
Yes.
with a smile on their face.
Yes, we will.
Okay, and then finally, you guys had talked about the restaurant RFP last time, and I just wanted to make sure I had the deadline correct. Is it the last meeting in June?
Well,
You need it by, or do you want it by this first meeting in June?
if you think we could have a rough draft by the first meeting, that would give us time to have the finalized one done by the end of June. Just so time doesn't get away from us.
Sounds good.
Sound okay to everybody? Yep. And on that topic of note, there is another local party I know that has interest, so I may be coming to borrow the key again, put up my realtor hat. So, it's good. I mean,
We're looking to go through on the 6th.
or yeah, right,
Oh, yeah, that's true.
it might be easier. Anything
I think
else?
that's everything. Oh, actually, one more thing. Our, streets department and parks cemetery department have new hours, so they're going from 7 to 4 during the summer. So that way they can get stuff done a little bit earlier in the day.
That sounds good.
On that note, is it the heater for the pool?
Yes, yeah, the, sand filter.
Okay.
That's where I had a lot of people ask that question. I told them, I said, I don't think it's a heater element. I think it's just something else that, yeah.
I'm not a professional in that area. You know, I just get told by, Tony Aller what exactly is the issue, but that should be resolved here within the next week or two, I believe. Whenever the part comes in, get it installed right away and, but I think Courtney was saying today the water was 80 degrees or higher already, just because the sun is just shining so much in the morning. So, you know, the temperature's not an issue right now during that afternoon period. I think it more affects that morning period. And even then, I think it was above 70 this morning, which is above our regulation temperature.
Anything else? You sure?
Yes.
Okay. All right, next we have standing committee reports. We did have the Kester Museum Advisory Board met with the Kester House Museum Foundation. Was that last Friday? Friday evening. Kevin, you were there.
No, Thursday.
Was it Thursday?
Yeah, it's Thursday.
I have a meeting every night. I can't remember which one's which.
Evening, sorry. Yes.
Last week, and City Administrator Haverkamp was there. We got to meet with not only the entirety of the foundation board, but also some members of the Kester and Kester Morrison family were there, including some that I personally never met, from Hawaii to Connecticut, all over. We're back just to kind of know what the process was, what was going on, listen to the conversation, and kind of get an update. We discussed kind of what was going on with the block and the RFP there. Also discussed the moving forward with the restaurant RFP. There were a lot of questions around property lines and where, you know, since these properties haven't really been divided for quite a while, we kind of agreed that there would need to be probably some survey work done. The property line between the business block and the Kester House Museum is a little more obvious because there's a wall and an alley or a pathway, walkway. But between the restaurant and the museum is a little more ambiguous. So I think some of it was they correctly wanted assurances that we were going to hold the restaurant process up to the same historic preservation standards, and find a way to kind of integrate that, you know, whoever ends up with that property, integrate the gardens and kind of make sure it's still cohesively kept up and kept nice, because obviously they're very well tied together, those two houses. There were a lot of concerns about, you know, the Museum Foundation potentially taking over the house and property here this next year into spring of 2025, what that would look like financially, making sure they were prepared. Had a lot of questions that didn't necessarily have answers to off the top of my head. A lot of it's because we've administered the block as an entirety. We've never administered it as 3 separate units. So we kind of left it to communication to be ongoing. Obviously, they wanted to be part of the conversation with the block moving forward. I tried to impart a little bit that, you know, we want to be patient and we understand the process will take time, but we need to get moving on it because we've got the wheels in motion on the block already. But I don't know if Kevin or Josh, if you had any kind of other things that we discussed.
You know, the meeting it was on Wednesday. Yeah.
We were both wrong.
Yes. But the property lines, I think we have a solution for that as long as we get exceptions for certain buildings, because the Cole House is on the same lots as the commercial buildings, whereas the summer kitchen is on the same property as the CDJK house, CJDK house.
Acronym.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and that's something too, I mean, I imagine it'll be part of the process with Tyler moving forward, is getting all that defined legally anyway.
Out of curiosity, what was their reaction to our approach on the commercial side of things? Did they have any reaction, or were they glad to hear that we're trying to preserve it, or we're going the wrong way, or?
I think in general, they're glad that, I mean, we're going to preserve it, and that our developer we're working with is going to be beholden to SHPO guidelines, because that's more strict. I mean, I think there's a lot of misunderstanding that we don't really have local historic preservation statutes. So being able to encumber development with those state historic preservation standards takes that off of us and provides a really strong baseline. I think it was more of they wanted to know, you know, they wanted to make sure we were setting this new entity up for success, that we weren't doing anything haphazardly. So.
Yep. That was a big concern, making it look like it does now.
Yeah. So, it was, you know, like I said, pretty good meeting. It was, as much as anything, showing that we do want to keep working with the Museum Foundation Board, and we want to keep lines of communication open, and to not only preserve the block, but improve the block. So, we also had a Water and Sewer Committee meeting last week.
That was on Thursday.
That was on Thursday.
That was the one on Thursday.
That was the Thursday meeting.
I knew we had one.
Jeff was there and Kevin was there. I don't know if, Jeff, do you want to give a report on that?
I'm going to say there was no action taken. It was the main discussion was the party line sewers and what are we going to do moving forward. If one, do we want to redo the ULDC and force people to split up party line sewers and not so much the water lines? We were
More worried about the sewer.
more worried about the sewer. At this point, we're not ready to do that. The other discussion is, well, if you're on a party line sewer and you have issues, are we going to force you to split it up? We're not quite ready to do that right now, but it's something we have to take a really strong look at. We've had an issue locally, or obviously locally, where somebody else's sewer on a party line was causing distress to another party, the other party on the party line. And then we get into an argument between property owners, contractors, and the city on who's responsible for what. So I would just say be tuned. There might be more information coming down the pipeline at a later date. But it's a big process to go through, and we have a lot of other things that we need to look at with the code. So.
And Cindy, you can remind me, how often was it that we generally revise the ULDC?
The ULDC, the Planning and Zoning review every year. That's part of the Planning and Zoning. But the comprehensive plan, which is the one we're talking about, is 25 years, and they're recommending you go less. And that's the one that kind of dictates this area is zone commercial, and we want to keep it commercial. This area is R1, this is R2, this is what you can do there. It kind of sets a guideline for what the city as a whole wants to do and how they want to move forward. Then those two work in tandem. And the comprehensive plan is due, we need to work on that, and then it works in tandem with the ULDC, so they kind of both need to be looked at.
And as I remember, if I'm not mistaken, the comprehensive plan was a template question in the interviewing process for the new city administrator. So I'm sure that he is kinda thinking about that in the back of his head.
Yes, I remember answering some of those questions during that time.
That is
Yeah.
usually, we hire a company to help
Yes,
us do that
yes,
and
I know.
get,
Yep.
citizen input.
From somebody that had a party water line for years, it's stressful getting off of it because
You have to take your shower at different times.
that wasn't it, just, the motel had the direct line to the underneath the water tower, and every other building, with the exception of Sandstrom's, was connected to our water line. These were all little old ladies, and you had to make them put in a new water line. So we paid to fix ours 3 times before we abandoned it and put in a whole new one, and they all had to put their own in.
So right now, if we find out somebody is on a party line, we inform them that they need to separate the party line. That is our protocol right now.
And I think right now, that's kind of the way the committee meeting ended, was let's stick with that protocol until we do something different. I hate to push that down on, number one, we don't know who they all are. We have an idea.
We're starting to
Yeah.
make lists, but
I was
you're
gonna say, do you know how many we have in this city?
more
That's
than
just
you-
something that when we hear about it, that's when we find out about it.
Well-
Yeah.
We also had a sewer line that we had to fix the sewer line. And remember Brian Braun when he was here?
Yeah.
They capped it because they didn't know where the other one went. All of a sudden, the building next to us had sewer in there.
I guess I had to fix their sewer line then.
No, he had to
They had to
go
put a new
back
line
and
in it.
refix it,
Go back into yours?
because it was all connected.
But it should
Well,
have been
that's-
disconnected.
But it's gone now.
And that's what we're trying to get away from,
Yeah.
is when those situations come up, we
So,
walk away from them.
and we discussed a little bit kind of what came up at last meeting as far as, you know, the accessory buildings requiring a new water or sewer line. It was more again, the concern about sewer lines, but part of the concern was that if a property is divided later, we don't, I believe the concern is we don't always know.
We don't know.
How
In most
would
cases.
we, so if someone has a house and a shop, and they sell the shop to someone else, surely they'd have to do a replat for property lines,
Nope.
right?
So if
So how
you
do
sell
they
it
pay separate
privately,
taxes and separate insurance?
It's
and-
done at the courthouse.
But there's no notification that comes to the
There's
city
nothing
to let
that's,
them
we are
know.
informed. They don't need any paperwork.
Because in that situation, it's gonna be probably a quick deed and it's done, there's nothing that comes to
It's
us
not.
to let them know.
There are a lot of houses that were sold we never knew for water meters.
There's gotta be a way to track it, I would think. Some way.
Seems like there would be.
It doesn't, I mean, put it on the realtors, if they're selling something, make them do a report to the city, I mean, there's gotta be
well,
some.
then if they don't go through the realtor, then that would become the issue.
Gotta be a way to, I mean, it just
There's a
doesn't
garage
make,
that's half and half, split right down the center on a property
Oh, I
line.
know I know what garage that is.
I mean, so there were a lot of things done and now it's a mess.
Okay,
So that's where we're at with that committee.
is that your recollection, Kevin?
Yep,
more to come.
Okay,
more to come,
all right.
lots of
and
discussion.
I don't believe there were any other standing committee reports. I think we're still trying to get a police and fire.
Hey, we can't
Meeting
get
together.
everybody together yet, they're on vacation.
Everybody going on vacation?
Yes.
Okay.
Not me, I'm back.
Well, the first time I tried, you were gone.
And it would be nice, like I said at the last meeting, it would be nice to get where we have these, you know, maybe every other month, all the committees meet, just because it feels like if you don't think there's anything to talk about, there's somebody probably has something we can talk about. Or, a department head might have some things that he's wanting to work on, and that gives us a chance to communicate about those and be a sounding board. All right, I don't see any appointments or wage determinations. We have no city attorney this evening. Is, Aaron gonna be here at the next meeting?
No, he's the second meeting of the month,
Second
so.
meeting, so, okay, the one after next. Okay. Gotcha, just making sure I have it right.
He's at his regular Tuesday meeting somewhere else.
Somewhere else, right.
That's where we had.
We're just kind of a little off kilter. Okay, anybody have a need for executive session? All right, we'll go to council comments. Lori?
Well, first, the Memorial Day service was fantastic at the cemetery. Everybody that played any part in that did wonderful. I was very impressed. Now I got notes. Curb at 605 North 11th is absolutely awful. I have pictures on my phone if anybody wants to see them. Okay, 904 May Street. Right around the corner from me, Eller Halligan's house, right beside it, it caught fire like in February maybe?
We're
Is
dealing
that
with
right?
it. We're dealing with it.
Okay, good, because people are
We have
complaining
been,
to me
yep.
that there's
Those windows open.
rodents and other things coming out of the
Yep.
windows that are burned out and broken and,
That's one thing that, I know Will would like to look into changing, because there's no difference in the way that it's written right now between a dangerous building and something where like the windows are broken, which a fire, yeah, that's probably a dangerous building, so not necessarily in this case. But to distinguish that, so that way, you know, the dangerous building gets destroyed, but the other one, we just board up and try to figure out if they can fix it that way. And so that's something that we're looking to work on soon.
But he has been informed, that guy who owns that house.
okay, I was gonna say, I've
A
got quite a
couple
few
times.
comments on that house sitting up there, so.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Okay, Sheree?
I'm just, we're doing as a city a lot for the sewers and the rainwater. Just remind people mowing their lawns not to be throwing their grass out on the street. It's dangerous for motorcycles, which they don't really realize, but it's also bad looking. It doesn't help to throw it back on your grass.
It goes into storm sewers and plugs those up too.
Yes, and then stuff grows.
Right, it grows.
It grows in there.
Yeah.
But just a reminder to just not throw it in the street.
Is that it?
Yep.
Colleen? Jeff?
Nope.
No. Kevin?
Yeah, First and Calhoun and south side by the, big 54-inch drain that runs through there. The, curb is starting to settle, and there's a big hole in the backyard. You can see down into that pipe.
First in Calhoun?
That's what I said.
I was trying to get it written.
It's about that big around right now.
Okay.
Goes right down into that concrete pipe.
So is it,
South side of the street. Can't miss it. You go down there, you can see it.
okay, I'll have to drive down now.
That's all I have.
Okay, Chris?
I was sad I didn't get to make Memorial Day, you know, I usually help out with that every year, but I decided to go on vacation for once in my life, but I just, appreciate everyone who defends our country and puts their lives on the line for it. Just wanna say that first and foremost. The Legion guys and everybody that's a part of it always does a really good job. It's amazing. I mean, just seeing all those flags, the way the city put those up, just like a straight laser line, it just looks amazing. So I know I appreciate all the hard work that goes into it all the time. I keep getting questions about have we gotten anywhere with the engineering on the road, Keystone and all that? People keep asking, so I just thought I'd bring it up.
I think 11th Road is ready to go out for bids.
That's what they
That's
told us
correct,
about a month
yeah.
ago.
So do we have a timeline for when that is yet, when they're going out for bids?
We have not heard a timeline, so I'll reach out and get that.
Yeah.
And that's just for 11th Road.
That's
11th South, right? Yeah.
To finish out and remove the ski jump.
Were we doing any engineering on Keystone or anything?
They did preliminary.
Yeah, they've been out there surveying and doing all kinds of things.
Still in
It's a slow process.
process. Yeah, I just wanted, for those watching, just get some information.
Yeah, for those watching, the way that that's gonna get fixed is it's gonna have to be a pretty comprehensive thing
Yeah.
with some funding outside of the city to do that. I mean, yeah, we'd love to just go take out a loan and do it, but it's gonna be a slow process. To do it right, we could do it cheap on the light and do something, but
I think probably, and everyone can feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but after 11th, our next priority is probably that first northernmost section of 12th Road. It is full stop the worst road in
no,
town.
it's fun.
It's pretty, it is
Wow.
fundamentally awful.
It's
So
fun.
to at least.
I drive it every day, 4 or 5
understand.
times. It's like a ski slalom.
Yeah, it's bad. So, I mean, I think,
Unless you meet the school bus.
Yeah.
like you said, I think we need a comprehensive project, and I'm not saying we do it slapdash, but I think we need to do it soon. I'm not gonna say whatever it takes, but it's gonna have to be addressed, pretty much whatever it takes soon. At least get that part started, because it gets too much turning traffic and truck traffic, and just traffic in general. If we keep just filling holes, it will never last.
Oh, there was some discussion about just ripping it up and going back to gravel. Is that an option at all? I mean, I mean, I know it was
Bomag it?
discussed, but.
an option.
I don't know what the costs are to mag a couple 100 yards of road. I mean, we can certainly look at what that takes, but I don't imagine it's very cheap.
Well,
You have an opinion?
I have an opinion. If you look at the residents that live out there and look at their, what are we, 64% of the property tax roll on the properties that are out there? I think it's 37% of your property taxes go to the city. So if you start doing the math on it, for the property evaluations that are out there, if it goes back to a gravel road, there's gonna be some people that are upset.
Oh,
I'll
I
just leave it
agree.
at
I
that,
wouldn't,
yeah.
I don't live on a gravel road because I don't want to live on a gravel
Yeah.
road. But that being said, I mean, if we can't get it fixed right fast, I don't want that to be the stopgap.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Yep,
it's
yep.
probably better than what it is now.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
it's probably knocking people's alignment out right now on their cars.
Yeah, it's when you go north, knocks it one way, you go south, it knocks it back the
So as
other
long as
way.
you come back the same
Yeah,
way.
if you just keep
Good.
going back and forth, you're fine.
More mechanic tips from Jeff.
I would like to add, I shout out to the city, because we had double representation for the city with Reefs.
We did.
I didn't see Todd there.
And then at the same time,
Walked up at the same time.
it's a breakdown in communication, I'd like us to work on that.
Breakdown in the positive though.
Okay, yes,
We default to more,
yes.
yeah. No, Chris, you have anything else?
Yeah, I noticed something, Kyle's not here, so I'm gonna ask for him, just 'cause I saw it, the street lights that are turning purple, and I know the lights above the.
We turned them in. I mean, all we can do is give them to Evergy, but right now they're working on
And that's
so
the same
much
with, over
accidents.
by the health department as well, did anything happen with those?
Okay. Yeah,
That we're getting more research on.
those lights are exactly the same lights on the trail. They're no different.
I think it's
They're
just
the
because
same number.
I did
there's,
notice that walking
there's a
the
bigger
park.
distance.
Cause I'm like, how is the park so well lit with these exact same lights, the same distance apart? And that corner is so dark.
Is it
They're
That's
short.
very-
There's a
On the
bigger
tr-
distance between the poles in that area.
I know, but still, it's still like,
It's dark.
I don't know, they're,
I don't get it.
We're looking at-
we are
just
checking with the
thought I'd
company because
find
they
out
are
if
the
there was
same number,
anything
we
else.
ordered the same number.
We're looking
So
at
much brighter.
potentially a reflector to get it to spread out, and we'll go down, so that would take away the light at the top. And is that the best thing to do or not? So we're just looking into everything at the moment.
So it's getting worked on, so, yeah. And then, so Will's doing, code inspection now, I thought we had someone hired, is that
He took a different job.
a different job? So we're, okay. That's all I have, thanks, sorry guys.
about that after the meeting.
Todd, have you heard how they're doing on the, what I call it, 14th, 15th Street sewer project line, storm sewer line,
Oh, in front of the Chevy.
in front of Nordis's?
Oh,
That's something that, it's a bigger project that we're gonna
Can
be.
we-
It definitely is one of our higher priorities
Can we do
if you've
something
ever.
with the drain though, put a chain or something on it? Cause I know after the rain the other day, it was about 4.5 feet out from the curb.
Okay, so what we did was he welded it down.
I was gonna ask if we just
Okay.
spot
And
weld
we
it.
did, and you know what happened?
It plugged.
No, the concrete came up on the sidewalk and there was stuff coming out from the concrete.
You'll never stop water.
So we had to undo it because it was lifting the whole concrete up on the sidewalk. Cause I thought that was a great idea, only it wasn't.
I don't care if we put a chain or, can we put a chain or something to hold it at least close to the curb?
So it
I'll
sticks
have them
around.
look back into
Yeah, so,
it.
just so it stays,
Yeah, yeah.
cause like I said, 4 foot out, if somebody got over, I mean, that's
Yeah, and that's why we had them weld it solid, but then it blew up the sidewalk.
I guess I don't know if a chain would hold it there or not.
Put a hinge on, piano hinge on it.
I don't know, just to, yeah.
Yeah.
How soon do you think are we gonna get to that? Probably not this season, huh?
So
That
that's,
way.
that's
$1.
connected to something I was gonna bring up in a minute, so I'll just will.
Okay.
Which is the stormwater utility. We sort of put that on the shelf,
And we did.
because we've obviously been in a transition, but that, I mean, this
Still-
needs to be part of that
Right.
process and program, and it's a great, I don't wanna say selling point, but evidentiary point for the need.
Right.
Because we need to have a dedicated fund to do this kind of repairs and others, because where the heck else is it gonna come from? Rather than us just taking out debt willy-nilly, so.
Have we gotten any reports?
He started, and then he, quite frankly, we're working budget, and we have to work with him too, and we don't have time. He will come here and present to you, but we have to have the budget together, because by the end of June, we have to have the summary done, because we have to do the revenue neutral rate, or we can't raise our taxes, we can't do anything. I mean, it's just
And
a
do we have
lot
to have
right now.
another budget workshop meeting before then?
Yes, but we have to, not till we get,
Right.
we're working on it, I mean, I'm telling you, we're trying, but it's just been a lot of transition.
Yeah,
I mean, I know this needs to be, but
well, and if we need to work this project in advance of having that stormwater utility fund established, we may just have to do it, because it is a hazard and it's not gonna solve itself. So yeah, I think we probably do need to move forward with coming up with a plan, going out for bids and seeing if we can get it repaired, I'd say fall.
Don't we have to, do we have any engineering done on it? I know we had preliminary.
Preliminary,
I thought CES was working on it, but I
Yeah.
would have to double check that, I don't know
can
that.
you maybe check with Rob? I believe we just had preliminary is all at this time.
We had a kind of a range
Yeah.
for doing this section or doing this way.
Yeah, because,
Yeah,
but we didn't have the final numbers.
right,
Yeah, because he was gonna go back and do some more
right. Okay.
research.
And I don't know if it's connected to that or not. I don't know, have we communicated any with Nordis's there? In their parking lot on the east side, I noticed they have a cone in the middle of their lot, because it looks like there's a hole, like a sinkhole or something under
I
their
have
lot.
not seen it.
That's where that sidewalk goes.
I think there's a drain that
Yeah, there's
drops
some
down
sort of
into
drain
the
cover
sanitary
there.
I
sewer.
haven't gone,
It's plugged.
I haven't walked up there to look at it, but I was seeing if that was part of it, because if I remember the map correctly, it cuts across there,
Well,
right?
I'm sure it's part of
Yeah, okay.
it, just I don't know what part of it it is.
Not a good part.
No, no.
Okay. The other thing I had, was just, yeah, I was gonna concur with everyone else that the cemetery looked really good. The crews did a wonderful job getting it ready for Memorial Day, and, I heard nothing but rave reviews. We traveled around quite a bit visiting family plots in different cemeteries, and it was as good or better
too.
than any of them.
Me too.
So something we can definitely be proud of.
Has there been any update on the Verizon tower?
So I was gonna ask that.
All I've seen is they've done some survey stakes out there. I've seen them do, utility staking, but that's about it.
Because I had asked Will one day when I saw him, because in Hanover, Verizon has no coverage. So there has been so many people over there that have switched to AT&T, and Verizon called one of the people that moved 5 people off of Verizon to AT&T, and they said, "What's it gonna take to get you to come back?" And she said, "Get the tower and Verizon tower in Hanover up and working." And they said, we're doing that, but it's gonna be 36 months at least before they get the parts to put on top of the tower. So that's what I asked Will, find out what the time frame is for that.
Given us one.
Yeah,
And I can believe that. Those type of components are
yeah.
a little,
Special
COVID
and
made
comfort.
all that stuff hard to get.
So,
Okay. All right, does anybody have anything else you need brought before the council?
move to adjourn.
second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, meeting adjourned.
I wrote 8-0.